Welcome back, everyone, to the Bookstack Coffee Chat. It is Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Once again, I am thrilled to be here with you. I hope you're off to a good week. Actually, we're nearing the end of the week, right? But hopefully it's been a good week for you. I have been so happy with all the sunshine we've had here after several weeks of just dreariness and rain. Glad to have had the sunshine back. And yeah, but this has been an interesting week for me. So a little busier than usual, out of my routine. So I didn't make it to the library to get any new books this week. So that was a bit of a dilemma. What was I going to talk about today, right? So I went and raided my oldest son's bookshelf. So he is an avid reader like myself. He tends to like a different genre than me. He loves science fiction. Good morning, everyone popping on. Be sure to say hi in the comments. But so I'm not a fan of science fiction. So if you are, let me know. And next time I will pull a couple of those to share with you that he recommends. But today I pulled a couple of the more adventurous ones that I enjoyed because I actually have read these. I'm not sure about you. Well, he's now out of high school, basically. Good morning. But whenever he was in elementary and middle school, he participated in something called Battle of the Books. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the students had to read quite a number of books, 20 some books, and they had to know them inside and out. And so every week, several times a week, I believe, they had to meet after school or in school and rehearse just random questions. And they had to be able to tell the questioner the name of the book, the title, and the author, just based on random quotes that would be thrown out. So he loved that. And so I believe this first book I'm going to share with you was one of those Battle of the Book mentions. And it is, let me just throw this up here so you can see it as well in case you want to jot it down. It is 90 Miles to Havana by Enrique Flores Gablis. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. But on the front cover, it says, 3 brothers must escape from Cuba to a country so near yet so very far away. And on the back, it said, the back blurb says, when unrest hits the streets of Havana, Cuba, Julian's parents must make the heartbreaking decision to send him and his 2 brothers away to Miami via the Pedro Pan operation. I'm just going to pause there and just let you know, in case you weren't aware, as I wasn't before I read this book, that the Pedro Pan operation happened between 1960 and 1962 in Cuba. And that's when parents made the heartbreaking decision of whether to send their children off to hopefully a better future in America or keep them as civil unrest in Cuba. And so actually 14,000 children, Cuban children, were sent unaccompanied to the United States, most of them arriving in Miami, but I'm sure other cities as well. And so this book is based on the main character's experiences as part of that. The back cover goes on to say, but when the boys get to Miami, they are thrust into a world where bullies seem to run rampant, and it's not always clear how best to protect themselves. Inspired very much by his own experiences of leaving Cuba when he was a boy, Flores Galvez offers up a coming-of-age story that explores the feelings of isolation and confusion that come with leaving one's homeland, especially when that country is only 90 miles away. So a very good read, very deep content, but the narrative is very interesting. And like I said, I'm an adult and I enjoyed this story. So I recommend that book for you and your kids. The next book I pulled off of his shelf was Book Scavenger. And let me put that up there. Let's see. Hold on one second. Hide that one and put this one up. All right. So this is by Jennifer Chambliss Bertman. And I don't know if you've read that. There's actually a sequel to it called The Unbreakable Code, but this is the first in this series. And it says Book Scavenger, where life is a game and books are the tokens. So if you've watched me before, you know that I also enjoy some mysteries and adventures. So this is one such book, and like I said, it is written for the YA audience, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of good whodunit mixed in with really interesting concept of making a game about books. So let me read the back of this first, and then I'll read just a brief excerpt inside the story. 12-year-old Emily is on the move again. Her family is relocating to San Francisco, home of her literary idol, Garrison Griswold, creator of Book Scavenger, a game where books are hidden and clues to find them are revealed through puzzles. But Emily soon learns that Griswold has been attacked, derailing the launch of his epic new game. Then she and her friend James discover an odd clue, which leads them to a valuable prize. But there are others on the hunt for this special prize, and Emily and James must race to solve the puzzles Griswold left behind before his attackers find them. So, like I said, it's a great whodunit. Lots of interesting ciphers to decode along with the characters as you go along. It mentions a lot of different literary books. So, yeah, I love that part of it. Then just to show you about the quirkiness of some of the characters, I thought I'd read an excerpt from it. 1 second here. So it says, this is in the beginning of the book, California would be the 9th state for Emily in her 12 3/4 years, all part of her parents' quest to live once in each of the 50 states. Yes, a quest to live in every state. That always went over well when Emily tried to explain their frequent moving to people. Are you in the military? Are you in a witness protection program? Are you on the run from the feds? You just move around for fun? Starting before she was born, her parents had bounced from state to state because, in their words, that's where our paychecks pulled us. When Emily was 5, they lived in New York, and her dad was laid off from his job at a publishing company. He started to take on freelance copy editing jobs. That same year, her mother was given permission to do her programming job remotely, which meant anywhere she had a computer. Realizing their work wouldn't be tying them to one spot, her parents decided to make their fantasy of living once in every state a reality. They started a blog called 50 Homes in 50 States and chronicled their moving adventures. The blog had been a hobby to begin with, a way to capture memories from the different places they lived, but it grew into a side business with companies paying to advertise on it, and travel sites and magazines asking them to write articles. The Crane family had been averaging a move almost once a year ever since. And so it sounds comical, but almost in today's society, we could see that happening, right? It's based a little bit on fact. And it's, today, especially now with COVID and more people working from home, we can kind of relate to that work from home scenario, but I don't think that many of us have the desire to move to every state in the country. Maybe some of you do. But again, that's a good book, Book Scavenger. I recommend that. But, speaking of moving and these adventures that they are either willingly taking or being forced upon. So in the case of 90 Days in Havana, the boys don't have a choice. Their parents are sending them, right? It's an adventure that they're forced onto or into. And with the Book Scavenger, Emily is forced to move too. She doesn't have much say in the matter as a 12-year-old. But she does have the choice with the book scavenger hunt itself. And just so since I was talking about those two types of book about adventure and, the relocation being part of both books, I thought it only fitting to mention a little bit about a company that I will put up on the bottom here called BR Anchor Publishing. So a little bit of backstory. This is the company that I had my first job with out of college. So they hired me as their editor, and it's a mother-daughter team, a very small company, family-owned, and they were initially based in Pennsylvania. Then they relocated to Wilmington, North Carolina, where I worked with them, and then they have since relocated to Jacksonville, Florida. But they met a specific niche. So they were a family that moved all the time. I forget how many they're up to, 20 or so moves, I think, now, possibly more. But because they moved so much, Beverly, the owner and founder of the company, decided to write books to help people who are moving. And so she created this niche publishing company, a boutique company that does nothing but relocation books. And so if you find yourself moving or know anyone who is going to move, I highly recommend these books. They're great checklists and inside tips on how to move without losing your mind and without losing a lot of money either. And so the first one is Relocation 101, Making the Most of Your Move by Beverly Roman. And so this one is if you're moving within the United States. But because so many people do relocate internationally, she created the international version, which is Home Away from Home, turning your international relocation into a lifetime enhancement. And then for the teens, they created a book called Footsteps Around the World. So again, it is by Beverly Roman, and it's for tips and checklists and all kinds of things that they can do to prepare for their move. And that's for both international and domestic relocations. And then this one was fun. I actually got to help write this book, and it was totally different genre for me. And so it's more of a graphic novel, little comic book type thing for the preteens, the League of Super Movers. And so we wrote this with the preteens in mind to help them move. And so we had a great artist and illustrator who did all of our books, but see kind of that kind of concept. And then the last one is for young children. My Family is Moving. And it's an activity book. And so there are all kinds of fill in the blanks and activities to help kids work through their book or through their move. And they also include little stickers and that they can put on their boxes and also on their calendar to count down for the move. So all of that can be found right there at branchor.com. So if you're moving and finding yourself in that kind of a relocation adventure, I recommend those. But even more than regular books, right? I always recommend going back to God's Word because we're never alone. So when we find ourselves in the midst of an adventure we're either planning or suddenly find ourselves in the middle of, like this COVID thing, it's an adventure none of us really asked for, but we're in it, right? But we're not alone. God is with us. And so I just wanted to share a few scriptures to encourage you as you go through your adventures. And so the first one I wanted to share is Psalm 31:24. And that says, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all you who hope in the Lord. And another one is 1 Corinthians 16:13 through 14. Let me get there one second. Watch, stand fast in the faith. Be brave, be strong. Let all that you do be done with love. But how can we be strong when we're fearful or when we don't know what the next step is going to be? Well, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29, let me put that one up there, gives us that answer. God, he gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. So all we have to do is seek the Lord and ask him for his supernatural strength, and he will be with us to guide us, direct us, give us the next steps. So let me just go back to the comments and see if anybody has anything to say. Those of you who are joining in either live or on the replay, be sure to pop in the comments, say hi, let me know who you are. I'd love to get to know you and see you. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to pop them in the comments. I go back to them. They notify me whenever I get comments, even days after the live stream. So feel free to share any comments or what you're reading too. Any recommendations that you have. I always love that. So I thank you for joining me yet again. I can't wait to speak with you next week. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.